Good evening from Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall. This is the Lock Haven University Coaches Show, presented by the Bear Country Sports Network. I'm Jonathan Schwab, and over the course of the next half an hour, we will talk with Lock Haven University coaches, recapping the week that was and looking ahead to the week to come. And as we have made our enjoyable habit, we start the show with Lock Haven University head football coach David Taynor coming off another win this past Saturday at East Stroudsburg. Coach, your team was coming off a win on senior day over Bloomsburg. How did you feel your group handled Prosperity in the preparation leading up to ESU?
Well, I think we were really focused on our preparation, getting ready to play Team 10. And the guys responded really well. They got right back to work. We say no matter whether you win or lose a game, you start the week at 0-0, and you prepare to be 1-0 at the end of the week.
You were able to connect on a number of big pass plays. What did you see that gave you an optimistic feeling that you'd be able to execute with some success in the pass game?
Well, in actuality, East Stroudsburg played us a little bit differently than what we expected them to play. They played a lot of middle of field closed, so they kept one safety high the majority of the season. In our game, they decided early on they were going to try to introduce some extra guys into the box, I assume, because we were as successful as we were the week before at running the ball against Bloomsburg. So they plugged an extra couple guys in their box, which left us in some one-on-one situations, and Caleb Walton and Sean Seif were able to connect on a few big plays and really got the momentum rolling for us.
One of the plays that aided you in jumping out to a 25-0 lead was a block punt returned by Adrian Pritchett for a touchdown. What did you see in watching film that told you had an opportunity to get at one of their punts?
Well, we thought we could get two guys to their personal protector, and we basically overloaded the side and slipped a guy in late and attacked the personal protector. And Javon Whitfield is a freshman for us who it has over the last few weeks just kind of found a knack to get either to the quarterback or, in this case, get to the punter through traffic. 2 weeks ago, he had an interception, but he forced another interception when he hit the quarterback. And then this past week, he did the same thing on a pressure and got there, and then he also slipped through and was kind of slithered through and got to the ball and blocked the punt. And Pritchett was Johnny on the spot, picked it up and scored.
You gave up 13 straight points after racing out to the 25-0 lead. How did you feel your team responded to that little bit of adversity late first quarter, early second?
I think they responded really well. I mean, it was we got out to a very fast start, and sometimes when you get out to a fast start, you tend to loosen up a little bit too much or feel like things are coming easy, so you kind of expect it to continue that way. Team 10 is a very strong team. They're a very good offensive team, and they were able to put a drive together, and they stopped us on a series where we had a blown protection, and were able to stop us and put two scores together. But then I felt like we had a 90-yard drive. I think it was 6-play 90-yard drive, in which we really got on process, did some good things, got ourselves down to the 27-yard line, and then we're able to hit a one-on-one matchup with Seif to finish the drive. And that kind of re-put the momentum back in our favor, and we were able to keep it there for the rest of the game.
Joined by Lock Haven University head football coach David Taynor on the LHU Coaches Show, live from Haywood's on the Green on Tuesday night. If you're listening on Saturday, we are less than an hour from the season finale for Lock Haven University football as the Bald Eagles go on the road to face the Lakers of Mercyhurst. Going back to the Bloomsburg game, in the first half, your offensive line controlled the line of scrimmage. Bloomsburg was able to run the ball on your defense a little bit, but in the last three halves, your team has dominated the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. How have they been able to do it, especially in the East Stroudsburg game?
Well, I mean, we put a focus on it, and we look back actually going into week 6 of this season, and that was the week we chose to take all the names off of all the scouting reports, all the boards, and we played team 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. It doesn't really matter who you play good football, and part of playing good football is controlling the line of scrimmage and really put an emphasis on, doesn't matter who we play. It doesn't matter if someone's a perennial power or this or that, and it's about lining up, playing great football, and playing a physical brand of football. And I think both our offensive and defensive fronts. Our offensive line has responded extremely well. Coach Nichols done a great job with coaching those guys, and Trent Fielding up front has been a leader for us, and I think all of that group has responded extremely well. We've become a very nasty group of finishers up front. We cover guys up and we finish through the whistle, and it has allowed us to be able to run the ball effectively and then be able to emphasize our pass game when they're giving us things.
How about the improvement on the defensive line?
Well, I mean, it's been throughout the season. I mean, we have, at the nose guard position, A.J. McLeod is a true freshman for us, and to see his growth as a player throughout the season has been phenomenal. And then Mateus Gibre, who's also a true freshman, has his repetitions have jumped way up the last 2 weeks with David Lazo being out for the last 2 weeks. So Mateus has stepped up as a true freshman also. So 2 of the 3 are true freshmen that play a lion's share of the reps. And then Brandon Clements has been a captain for us all year and has probably our most improved player from last year to this year. So that group of guys plays with phenomenal effort. Coach Kevin Smith does a great job with them. And those guys, they get to the ball. And then on the second level, I'd be remiss without saying that when you take the linebacking core, Kevin Chappell's been a staple for us throughout the season. And then, between Carmelo Cruz, Noah Rainbow Douglas, Destin Woody, and Fernando Flores, the 4 of those guys rotate and play the other 2 spots, and they get to the football well.
When we come back on the LHU Coaches Show, we'll talk more about the win over East Stroudsburg and also look ahead briefly to the season finale against Mercyhurst. This is the Lock Haven University Coaches Show, presented by the Bear Country Sports Network. This is the Lock Haven University Coaches Show, presented by the Bear Country Sports Network. Jonathan Schwab back with you, and still with Lock Haven University head football coach David Taynor. Coach, talking about the 66-41 victory this past Saturday over East Stroudsburg. And if you're with us on this Tuesday evening at Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall, we are glad. And if you're listening on the Bear Country Sports Network, about 45 minutes away from kickoff of Lock Haven and Mercyhurst. Last week, Lock Haven, fantastic. A 25-point road win over East Stroudsburg. First win over ESU in 27 years, and in the process, numerous records broken. The record for points in a single game with 66. Sean Seif, single-game school record with 4 receiving touchdowns. Seif with the single-season school record for receiving touchdowns with now 11 on the year. Seif again with the single-season receiving yards record as he went over 1,100 yards, became the first receiver in school history to do that in 1 year. Caleb Walton as well with 5 touchdown passes all in the first half. When you reflect and look at all of those numbers, how do you process all of that?
Well, number one, our guys just executed and they stayed on process. In the first half, they decided they were going to challenge us in man coverage with Sean Seif. So we were able to get him 9 catches, I think 210 yards and 4 touchdowns in the first half. So we were able to take advantage of that. And in the second half, they continued to do that, but we'd established ourselves. I think we had a 45-13 lead coming out of the half. So second half, we weren't going to throw the ball very much. So I think we threw it 3 times total in the second half. But we were able to still run the ball effectively. We had 3 ball carriers that ended up over 100 yards in the game. Between John Ford, had over 200 yards. Corey Blakey, who came in and had a 69-yard touchdown in his first carry, who ended up over 100 yards. And then Caleb Walton, who threw for 300 but also had 100 yards rushing in the game. So, but what they did was the numbers are a product, or results are a product of process and preparation, and they did a phenomenal job of preparing. And they also did a great job of adjusting. They said, Team 10 did some things differently than what they had shown as far as getting extra guys in the box. So we prepared mostly to run the ball interiorly. So early in the game, we were forced to kind of run on the perimeter a little bit. and to be able to throw the ball. And then once we established that and some of their fits became a little bit looser, we were able to get back inside and run the ball effectively and had, an inside tight zone for us. We had a 69-yard touchdown and a 52-yard touchdown. John Ford had the 52 and Corey Blakey had the 69, but it took us loosening them up a little bit. So I was proud of how they handled the adjustments because every team's going to prepare for each other a little bit differently. So you got to be able to adjust on the move.
Caleb Walton, for the performance you laid out, named the PSAC East Offensive Player of the Week. In the big picture, how does that benefit the program when you have two different guys receive that recognition in back-to-back weeks?
Well, I mean, it's great for the program. We talked about it a little bit in our Sunday meeting, not just about the PSAC Players of the Week, but it's a matter of shedding some of the baggage of recent history. So anytime that we can have some positively reinforced awards that occur at the conference or at the national level, that validates the preparation processes and the confidence that they're developing as we continue to grow as a program.
Your team has won 4 of their last 5. 4-3 you finish in the PSAC East. In the area of recruiting, when you can go out and tell kids, not just this is the journey we're on, but you can see the tangible steps we've taken between the lines on that journey. How does that help you out?
Oh, it's paramount to our success. There's a process to building a championship program. It starts with what our philosophies are and how we build people. But then, people are going to look at some of the results. So you see what we're doing from a process standpoint, and then you add in the fact that you're seeing some of those tangible results here towards the end of, end of season 2. We're not anywhere close to end of year 2 because we started a little bit late going into the first year. But seeing that progress, and it pays off. And we talked to the class of 2016 as they were coming in that we were recruiting you here to come in and win conference championships. And, if guys that were coming in, they were going to be here to build a conference championship program. And the 2017 class, as we get ready to go into recruiting in December, it's the same deal. We're going to win championships with these classes.
Mercyhurst, the upcoming opponent, as we're joined by Lock Haven University head football coach David Taynor on the LHU Coaches Show from Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall. If you could give us a brief synopsis, what does Mercyhurst bring to the table?
Mercyhurst is a football team that plays extremely hard. It's one of the things that the first thing I do with any opponent defense that we look at is we'll take a look at the big plays that they've given up. And I don't necessarily look at it for the purpose of saying, how are people taking advantage of what they do. I want to see how well their defense pursues. And they pursue like a football team that's a very successful football team. It shows in that they have a couple quality wins. That they won against Kutztown, who's won the PSAC East and is playing in the PSAC championship game. They also have a win against a very good Gannon team. So they have some quality wins, and they're a program that they'll take advantages of mistakes. They're probably leading the country right now. I didn't check the statistic on whether it's leading the country in block punts, which is really an effort-based play. So they're a very high-effort program. They have a very talented tailback who is also a very talented return guy. So, he's somebody that you have to be aware of all the time. I think that they're a team and a program that's going to challenge us every single snap.
Hour one for fun with Lock Haven head football coach David Taynor. We've talked quite a bit during the year about your background as a lineman. If you can go into the memory bank, what is the best block you ever laid on a guy?
Well, I'll kind of bend on one game. We played against Mount St. Joe and would have been I'm dating myself here, so it would have been 1997. I had 27 pancake blocks in the game. So any of those 27 would have been one of the better ones.
Is there any conversation when you pancake a guy, or were you always just to go back to the huddle next play guy?
Well, after about 10, you got to help the guy back up because you want to make sure they don't take him out.
Lock Haven University head football coach David Taynor, gentleman even when he pancakes you. Thanks for the time, Coach, and good luck at Mercyhurst.
All right, thank you very much. Looking forward to it.
When we come back on the LHU Coaches Show, for the first time, we'll be joined by Lock Haven head wrestling coach Scott Moore. This is the Lock Haven University Coaches Show, presented by the Bear Country Sports Network. Welcome back to the Lock Haven University Coaches Show, presented by the Bear Country Sports Network. I'm Jonathan Schwab. We are live on Tuesday evening from Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall. We'll be with you until 7:30. You can hear the show if you're listening on the Bear Country Sports Network leading up to Lock Haven University football games. Of course, this is the last one, a noon kickoff at Mercyhurst. We'll be continuing the show into the winter season, and it will air leading up to the next Bear Country Sports Network broadcast. A lot of times that'll be on Wednesday night leading into Lock Haven University basketball. On occasion, it will also be leading into Lock Haven University wrestling matches, and that is where we're headed right now as we talk for the first time with Lock Haven University head wrestling coach Scott Moore. Coach, it's 2016-2017 time. You guys already are underway, and first exposure of the year for one of your star returnees, Ronnie Perry, getting to wrestle in Cleveland at the All-Star Classic this past weekend. How'd that come about?
Yeah, so that's an event they put together to start the season. Wrestlers and Business Network out of Cleveland was in charge this year, and essentially what they do is try to get the best wrestlers in the country together to compete against each other as sort of a showcase event to start the college season. And also this year's was an event to raise money for Cleveland State and raise awareness for wrestling in the Cleveland area for the program. And it was one of the best events I've ever been to in the Wolstein Center in Cleveland. About 5,000 people in attendance, and just showcase some of the best wrestling in the country. And to have an opportunity to go up there and coach and watch Ronnie compete in front of the crowd, and obviously to come away with a win was also a bonus. But it's something that we like to, any opportunity we can get to expose the program and get an opportunity to compete in front of a big crowd, and something that we'll see at like a national tournament. Definitely something we want to take advantage of. So pretty exciting to see him wrestle in that environment to start the season and get a win and showcase Lock Haven wrestling and represent the Bald Eagles in a positive way.
Your program moved on Sunday to the Clarion Open, where you had a lot of guys in action, and the highlight, the exclamation point, Corey Hazel winning the 184-pound title. What did you like about his performance?
It's all guts and it's all heart. I mean, he goes out and fights the whole time. Somebody that we've been following, working with, and it's a local wrestler, so it's kind of cool for our program. Somebody who's grew up in the area, that attended Matttown, our club practices, and has been part of our program for a couple years, and to have the opportunity to coach him and watch him compete at this level, at Division I level, in front of his family and friends, and just to see him compete and his heart and his passion and his style of wrestling is very exciting. It's it's entertaining, it's intense, it's something I think is going to bring a lot of fans to the field house this season. But to watch him work his way through the tournament, the way he's matured and the way he's developed technically and mentally and physically, to see him put those matches together and just open up scores, with some tech falls and some majors, and then end up in the finals against a Clarion kid who's a fifth-year senior, a transfer from UNC. To find a way to win that match in overtime just speaks volumes about his development, what he's been doing as an athlete, and his future as a Bald Eagle.
Who are some of the other wrestlers who impressed you at the Clarion Open?
Starting off, we had one of our nationally ranked wrestlers, and Ronnie Perry, made the finals. He had 3 tech falls throughout the day, just dominated everybody in the finals. He had a tough loss against another nationally ranked competitor, but he just continues to improve and continues to impress us as a coaching staff, and somebody that we can really rely on in dual meets this year, and somebody who brings a lot of intensity and just scores points, goes out to wrestle and to score points. So he put on quite the show, and just a good leader for the rest of the program. We want our guys to be offensive and to expect to win, wrestle with confidence, and then compete hard through all 7 minutes of the matches. And he led the way for the team. We had 4 other finalists. Kyle Shoup at 149 pounds was a runner-up. He did a great job for us this weekend. 141, we just mentioned Ronnie. And then we had one of our prop guys that it's just a red shirt. Also, Tyshawn White ended up being a runner-up as well at 133. So But overall, a lot of place winners, 7 or 8 different guys placed, and a lot of intensity, a lot of younger guys, in our program that competed in the event, that showed a lot of heart, a lot of passion, and this shows that they're developing, guys that weren't state champions, weren't multiple-time state placers, were going out there and competing against some of the best guys in the country. So, that's something that's exciting for me as a coach in our program and something we're looking to build on throughout the season.
Joined by Lock Haven University head wrestling coach Scott Moore on the LHU Coaches Show from Haywood's on the Green in Mill Hall. We're here every Tuesday night from 7 p.m. until 7:30. You can also hear the show on the Bear Country Sports Network preceding Lock Haven University sporting events. Scott, the Journeyman Collegiate Classic coming up this weekend up in Troy, New York. What are you looking for from your team up there?
Well, at this point in the game, this is a different type of format, so it's something that our guys have never seen, and it's really a format that the Journeyman, Frank Popolizio, runs a Journeyman Wrestling Club, and he's used this format for high school events in the past, and he decided this would be a good event for college guys. So essentially it brackets up guys in a round-robin format to put them in a situation to wrestle guys that are similar to them and national rank and national experience, and puts them in getting 3 or 4 matches against guys that maybe they normally wouldn't see, or somebody that they could increase their RPI or strength of schedule with. And that's kind of what we're looking forward to is wrestling some Big Ten schools, with Minnesota, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, UNC, NC State, Lehigh. I mean, there's a vast majority of the top 20 teams in the country are going to be there competing. So, but we're just looking for the same things every weekend. The guys that are excited to compete, and they come out, they battle, they believe they can win, and just overachieving is really where we're at with the program. Being a smaller Division I school, we want to be the underdog, but we also want to come out and overachieve and press, the competition and just outwork the competition. And, the same thing for this weekend. We expect our guys to compete hard and wrestle with class, but also come away and with some good wins and to increase their percentage of getting to the national tournament at the end of the year.
Our first one for fun with Scott Moore. You log so many miles on the road with what you do professionally. What was your first car?
My first car was I'm trying to think here. I had a little S10 Sonoma back in the mid-'90s when I started driving, about 1996. So a little red Sonoma, drove that thing across the country, took it on a spring break trip to Panama City one year. Stick shift manual, 3 deep all the way to Panama City. That was a pretty good truck. So.
Lock Haven University head wrestling coach Scott Moore. Sounds like a good time, and we look forward to talking with you all season long. Good luck this weekend at the Journeyman Collegiate Classic.
Thank you.
That'll do it for this week's edition of the Lock Haven University Coaches Show. Thanks to head coach David Taynor of LHU football and head coach Scott Moore of LHU wrestling. For those of you who came out to Haywood's on this Tuesday evening, thank you. We will be here next Tuesday at 7 p.m. For those of you listening on the Bear Country Sports Network, coming up next, Lock Haven University football, the pregame, LHU and Mercyhurst. It'll be a noon kickoff from Mercyhurst up in Erie. For our entire Bear Country Sports Network crew, I'm Jonathan Schwab, and this has been the Lock Haven University Coaches Show, presented by the Bear Country Sports Network.